Hi, everybody. It's August 29th, 2024, and this is the Backdrop Weekly Developer Meeting. We've just got a little time before the Backdrop 129 release, so we're going to be focusing on 129 issues today. But we'll start off with some introductions. My name is Nate Lampton. I'm Quick Sketch on the internet, and I'm the technical lead for the Backdrop project. We've got a group of 4 people here today. We'll start off with Izzy, and then we'll go to Tim.
Hi, I'm Izzy. I'm a freelance developer in Vancouver, BC, Canada. I've been using Drupal for 16 years, and I've been around Backdrop for almost a year. I'll pass it on to Tim.
Yeah, my name is Tim Erickson. I'm St. Paul Tim. I'm in Deerwood, Minnesota today. And since we're talking about longevity, I think I just looked and it's been about 12 years since I started doing Drupal. And they've been doing Backdrop. I don't have that. It's clearly delimited, about 6 years, I think. Anyways, that's it. Who's next?
Thanks, Tim. We'll go to Luke and then Joseph.
All right, I am Luke McCormick. I'm a web developer, manager, analyst, and such in Martinez, California, which is not far from San Francisco. I'm involved with the Bay Area Drupal Camp, which we'll get to a little bit later in the meeting, and I'll end it there and toss it over to Joseph, I guess.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm a Backdrop developer in Las Vegas, Nevada, and a core committer. And have people been doing how long they've been doing Drupal's time?
You can if you want.
Okay. Well, the first time I attended a Drupal event was the Drupal 7 launch party in San Diego.
Wow.
So
Longer than me.
A joyous day. Great. All right. Let's see. Yeah, some announcements. We have some new contrib projects. Olaf Grabinski ported the theme hooks module. I think it's a port. No, maybe original module, theme hooks module. And then we got a new recipe module, a module called Gallery Recipe that is from Ronan in Minneapolis. So that's great to see those new projects coming in.
I think you might be mixing something up. Isn't Olaf is doing the Gallery Recipe, isn't he? Ronan has been working on the Stanford theme.
Oh, I'm not quite sure where I got Ronan from. Maybe did I mix them up? Yeah, I got them backwards. Sorry, theme hooks is Ronan.
Yeah, there you
Gallery
go.
Recipe is Olaf. My apology.
There you go. Yeah.
Great. Okay, and then yeah, Luke, if you want to take a minute or two to mention some words about Badcamp, that would be great.
Yeah, okay. Badcamp, the Bay Area Drupal camp, although we've had Backdrop pieces in it ever since the beginning, is after taking 1 year off, is back on again. It is October 24th and 25th in Oakland, California. And relevant to this, that's right. There's going to be a Backdrop summit like we've had in the past. So, we tend to do things virtually here, but if you're within range of Oakland, California, come by in late October, and we'll have all sorts of Backdrop goodness there.
Great. If he's done, maybe I could mention Twin Cities Drupal Camp is like in 3 weeks. It's September 12th and 13th. Wilbur and I are both going to be there. There will be a kind of an unconference portion in which we will certainly talk about Backdrop. I don't think there are any Backdrop sessions planned, but certainly we've had good Backdrop representation at previous Twin Cities Drupal Camp. So if anybody can come, please do. And maybe while we're mentioning events, we should just mention that we do have a Backdrop Live coming up. I think we have some dates. the October, what are the dates for Bad Camp? We got to get that on the event schedule. What are the dates again, Luke? For backdrop, for Bad Camp? You're muted.
That really decreases my effectiveness.
Yep.
Yeah. Bad Camp is October 24th and 25th. That's a Thursday and a
Okay.
Friday.
The backdrop live would be before that. Okay. So the 10th and 11th. That's all.
Great. Okay, well, let's get started talking about Backdrop 129 issues. Let's see. Following up from last week, I saw that there was some progress on the layouts, making layouts easier to add to
Yes.
content types. But I hadn't actually seen an update in a pull request. Do you know
Yeah.
where we are on that, Tim?
I just looked at it yesterday. Doc Wilmot's been working on the PR. He went back to his initial PR, which just has the UI for managed layouts on individual entity types, for example, content types. I did find an issue that I need to post that's separate, but the one the one issue that we could use some feedback on is, so when you go to a content type layout where it says manage layouts, you have two options. So let's say I have the post content type. There's one link that's like create a post layout, and that is obviously going to create a layout specifically for posts. There's another link that says create content layout, and what it is a node layout for all content types. To me, create content layout is too vague, and so we're just I feel like we need a better term for that, but it's hard because like node layout would technically, I think, be very accurate, but also we've been trying not to use node in the UI like that. But to me, like, you know, if it says create content layout, like I have no idea what it's going to do because every layout is a content layout. Anyway, so if basically, if anybody has an idea how to sort of label that link, I mean, there has been maybe some discussion about whether we need that link at all. Again, this is one of those things where I think some people really like that having that option. It isn't like the primary focus of this PR. So that's another solution would be to get rid of that particular link. Because it is like we're on the manage layouts for posts, and then you've got a link to create a layout for all content types. And someone might argue that that doesn't even belong there. I don't feel strongly either way, but I do feel strongly that the current link, when I first looked at it, I did not know what it was going to do. So, Nate, okay. It looked like everybody was frozen, but I think Luke was just being very still. So I don't know if I think the issue seems to be very close to completion. We could use a little bit of feedback on one or two small issues, but other than that, I think it's on track unless like some surprise comes up. I'm guessing it's going to need some tests or something that maybe haven't been written yet.
And layout, especially. Interesting. So looking at this issue, I'll share my screen just so people can see what we're looking at here.
Yeah, I guess Jen was raising the question about whether or not, that it should have that there is the default layout is in use so that people don't see nothing there.
You're right,
And
and that's been addressed there.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is a good compromise right here that we
Okay.
don't show the default layout, and if there's no layouts at all, then it's in the empty text. But if there is a layout that, like even a generic node layout, then that layout does get shown here.
Right. But do other people share my, am I the outlier here, or does add content layout, is that pretty vague and unclear? Like what it's
No,
going
you're
to
right
do?
that it's unclear.
Yeah. So I'd
feel-
just like to make that, the text a little more specific, but I really don't know what, other than to maybe something like, maybe we use the word node, but we explain it like all node layouts. Or add node layout, all content types in parentheses or something, or,
Oh, I
guess-
see the confusion here because there's the add events layout,
Right.
and then there's this one, and it's like, what is this?
right.
Yeah,
When I first saw that, I'm like, I have no idea what's gonna happen when I click that. It meant nothing to me. Now I know what it is, it makes sense, but
yeah. Well, the question I hope hasn't already been asked here is like, do we need this link at all? Like, could we just have the add events layout and avoid the confusion by not having this button?
I just raised that a minute ago, and I mean, I would be okay with that. I see the value, the added value of having it there, but I also don't know that it needs to be there. I think there were some people advocating for it, but again, it's something that could be added later. So if we felt like it would be better to not have it for now until we figure out a good solution, I would be fine with that.
Mhm.
Maybe there's a way to put that on the all content types page without having the whole manage layouts display, right? Then it would be more in context. Here it seems
Yes.
out of context.
I agree. Although I worry that that might start a whole nother bike shed, adding something instead of removing something. But
Right. So I would say that if we did that, we do it as a separate issue, that we just, for this issue, we remove it from here and then propose adding it somewhere else as a separate issue that we can talk about later.
yeah, yeah. One thing that this demonstrates right now that would be super confusing to me, at least, is that there's already a generic node layout here, and that there's still a link here to add another one. And so then you might end up with two generic node layouts.
Right.
And now you've made a problem for yourself that you would need to go to the layouts landing page to figure out which layout was being used where, or at least to reorder them. And you'd probably want to delete the extra one. I guess that same problem could actually occur here, like add events layout, and there's already an events layout here that's also a little.
Well, yeah, but there's a use
Yeah.
case, there is a use case for both scenarios, which is just different visibility rules, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
So you
Like-
might
like-
want a node layout or two different node layouts, but that they're, one of them is for authenticated users and one is for unauthenticated users, right?
Yeah.
Or like for events, like
Yeah.
an attendee versus the guy managing the event.
Right.
Or whoever. Yeah.
So there are use cases for that, but I do see what you're raising. I think I'm inclined right now to propose that we drop that second link and open a new issue. Like if we want to do that, figure out how to do that later.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
I don't know if anybody's going to object to that. Hopefully not.
All right. Let's see. Next up, if you guys don't mind, we'll move on.
Nope.
We have 3 issues that are just library updates for 129 that are all good candidates. 2 of which are fairly trivial and not problematic. Updating. Wait, what's going on here? 2 jQuery UI issues. Oh, maybe it is problematic. Okay, so we have updating jQuery UI that there's a 113.3 release that interesting. Looks like that one was already reviewed and is pretty much ready to go. It's issue 6550. But then there's a newer version of jQuery jQuery UI that just came out 3 weeks ago. And this one potentially has more breaking changes. So we'll probably see, it would be nice to iterate on this. So 6550 can go in pretty much right away, but then the follow-up issue 6677 may require some additional testing. So 2 different pull requests and issues for jQuery UI.
Okay, so on the second one, like I sometimes avoid these jQuery issues because I don't know what to do with them. It looks like IndigoZilla has provided a very nice checklist, at least on the second one, of things that that somebody like me could do. And I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, that those are all things that I could basically open up the Sandbox site and just test each one of those features. Is that correct? That's kind of what she's looking for there.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, and
Oh, that's
just
cool.
just to demonstrate that, yeah, so here's the update jQuery UI to 114 issue, so 6677. And yeah, she made a wiki page under the backdrop issues repository. And this is this checklist here. So go
Nice.
through and like check to make sure each one of these things works. Yeah, this is pretty much exactly, it may be more comprehensive than what I normally do, but yeah, I mean, it's like if there's JavaScript, then check to make sure that it works again.
Great. Well, thank you, IndigoZilla, for that. She mentioned in Zulip that she'd created a nice, easy checklist, but I hadn't actually looked at it yet. That's really nice for somebody like me.
Yeah, okay, so let's see. Oh, it looks like this might have also been Klonos's efforts. So yes, speaking of manual testing, we also have the issue to update CKEditor. CKEditor, like this pull request has been ready a couple of times, but CKEditor keeps making more releases faster than we can merge the issue. And so they just kind of keep getting refreshed with the newest version. But IndigoZilla is suggesting that we cut it off and just say, let's upgrade to, let's see, what did she say? Upgrade to version 42, and then work on 43 later because it's got some issues. We also had some breaks in 42, but we worked around them, and now, yeah, so we've already had to do some adjustments several times. So let's cut it off, get in 42, get up to date, like several versions that were behind. Yeah, and you can see all of these versions were coming out and get up to date that way. Just like the jQuery issue, there is a wiki page for this one too. How about that, Tim? So,
Right.
checklist for manually testing CKEditor changes. This one could be elaborated on. I think IndigoZilla went and updated the jQuery one, but the CKEditor one is pretty minimal.
Okay.
But still, it's a good start.
Well, I love that idea. That's really helpful for people like me. So thank you.
Okay, let's see. Let's see. Izzy is here this week. I think that you were interested in this fuzzy word search issue, issue 1320. Is that right, Izzy?
Yeah, that's correct. I was particularly interested in the partial word search. And it was interesting, IndigoZilla mentioned that is actually something that's good for foreign languages other than English. And I'd never really considered that. So that gives us a bit more momentum. The problem is that it needs tests, and I'm not really sure what kind of tests would make sense here. And the other thing is that it needs to have the full matches before the partial matches. So again, I'm not really clear on where we would do that kind of separation. And the highlighting, which is dependent on Greg having time in the course of the next week or two to bring his proof of concept into the PR.
Yeah, I would say in the interest of time that highlighting could be separated out. I do think that first word or like full words first and then partial would make this feature substantially more useful. Because if we leave it the way that it is, you could take search results that are adequate right now and turn them into ones that are pretty bad. If you had a site that had a whole lot of content, and you started mixing in partial words alongside the full words, which might be the most relevant matches, then you could get yourself into some trouble there.
So I'm going to mention that Greg is doing international travel, I think, tomorrow. So I'm guessing the likelihood of him having much time in the next 3 or 4 days is low.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a scenario where if with that, like what would be the minimum amount of work that needs to happen for this to get done now? To get past the feature freeze. It is a feature freeze issue, isn't it? It's a new feature, or is it something that could be done after feature freeze?
Well, it's marked UX, but I feel like it's pretty feature solid, in
Okay.
my opinion. Like it's not like improving an interface. This is adding a new capability.
Okay. So in other words, there's probably a substantial amount of work that needs to happen by the deadline
Yeah.
for that to get in. So unless somebody else steps forward, or unless Greg is very productive on the airplane, we may have a hard time getting it into 1.29.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
Unless, because Izzy, you're kind of dependent on Greg, is that right? Or is there something you could do?
Well, I have limited understanding of how we could do the sorting of the full words
Okay.
before the partial. So that's a little bit of a hold up for me.
Okay.
I mean, I don't quite share Nate's view that the full word search is solid, because if you look for something that is a plural word in the content, and you look for it as a singular, like engineer instead of engineers, you won't find it. So, that's one of the disadvantages of the full word search. You look for content and you get very poor results because you didn't use the exact full word.
Mhm. Yeah, if you are you looking at the PR?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go down to where it puts the thing in, it's doing an exact string search because it has percent space, word space
Right.
percent. So it's actually, if you don't have a space after the word, it won't find it as well because it's requiring a space after and before.
Interesting. That means it doesn't even match.
Like if the word you're searching for is the first word, it won't find it, or the last word.
Well,
You're talking about the current, yeah.
Yeah, the current implementation requires an exact space character before and after the word.
Well, if this PR is close and somebody else had time to help get it over the line, I know that Greg is never offended by somebody working on one of his PRs. So if anybody else wants to help get this over the line before deadline, it looks like it's not that complicated of a PR.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
In a way, Joseph's
You cut out, Izzy.
comment.
We're not hearing you, Izzy.
Illustrates that it's in Joseph's comment. It's not just. No. Yeah, here I go. A bit of a fix. It's not just a feature, because it's making that full word search work even if it's at the beginning or the end.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I might need to double check this because my understanding is what this is actually, it's not searching on the content, it's searching against the search index table. And
Mhm.
when the search index table assembles the list of words, it rather oddly, but for this exact reason, starts and ends the string with a space in the search index, specifically so that the matching will actually work.
Oh,
Because
interesting.
yeah, it says for this node, it just like has a big long string of all of the words that it considers matches for that piece of content that it pulls from all of the fields. And then it puts them into one big long string to be searched.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a strange technical choice, but effective. I'm pretty sure that that's the case here. That's what the data is here. I was looking for the table name here, but I couldn't find it right away.
I need to go look at how this module works now.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see, other issues. We've got this convert layout icons from PNG to SVG, issue 6487. This pull request looks like it needs work. Not in the 129 milestone, but I think this was brought up last week and didn't receive any attention here. It looks like this hasn't been updated in a little while. Tim, you had originally filed this issue. Do you have any updates on it?
No, I mean, I think it was an issue that somebody else just suggested and I opened up the issue. I don't have special insights and haven't really been involved in it since it opened. So,
Yeah, I haven't looked at this one. This would take me a little bit to get through. Okay, let's see. The dark mode for 7, we talked about that last week. I don't think that's feasible.
so
Oh, this one is, oh wait, this one's already complete. I guess there may be a little celebration here about this issue.
yeah,
6660 import language files and install that DocWillmont did. This is fantastic. So when you run the installer, it used to only show you select list that only showed English in it for choose your language, and that had a link. Oh, God, sorry, Tim, do you want to talk?
no, I just wanted to
Oh,
clap.
you're just clapping. Okay. So, yeah, this is exciting that it makes it so that during the installer, it now shows the select list of all of the languages that we have available during the, or we have available from the translation server. And yeah, then shows you this instead, and then it automatically downloads the translation file before the installation so that you start off the process of installing using the language that you're actually interested in. I also wanted to say this is exciting for me because if you look at the list of comments here, and maybe even, oh, I probably moved the milestone at some point or something like that, but I posted this at the end. I didn't participate in this issue. And to me, that's very exciting. Yeah, this collaboration between some of the biggest names in Backdrop all working together, and then Laren came in and did the final review and committed it. So I love it. So
Excellent.
yes, thank you everybody for putting this together. This is a really great feature. And even though Drupal has had this since Drupal 8, it was one of the banner features for the original release of Drupal 8. we can at least revel in the fact that we may have gotten it later, but our translation server is at least running supported software. Because translate.backdropcms.org is running Backdrop since Olaf did all of the work of getting all of the related Drupal modules ported into Backdrop, and we upgraded the site from Drupal 7 to Backdrop, which is great. My curiosity is quite high about how Drupal.org is faring with the impending end of life.
No.
Okay, so that one's great.
Can I interject an issue just to find out if it's something that how hard it is? It's in the forum. It's issue 6685, and I'm just kind of emphasizing this because I'm sort of releasing this big recipe, and this is a recipe issue. The problem here is that recipes aren't intended to be upgraded or updated. But particularly now, I'm updating them in the development stage fairly frequently. And I had somebody contact me, and they're like, "Hey, I installed your recipe. Drupal's telling me, or Backdrop's telling me that there's a new recommended version," and that very much confused them. And I'm just trying to figure out, is there a way that I can update recipes without them showing up as? And maybe there's a way I can do that already without any changes. Or is a change going to be required? And if so, is it an easy change that we could sneak in so that, or is that something that's going to take some time to think about?
Let's see. Well, I don't. Nothing comes to my mind right away as
Okay.
a way to solve this.
Okay.
What could be done.
Not,
So
it's not critical, but it's just sort of a confusing UI thing for people that are using them.
yeah, so the thing that makes these things even show up as in update module is the information in the .info files that says that it is associated with a particular project. So if the info file has project equals line in it,
Yeah.
then that says to Backdrop that this module came from Drupal.org or was packaged by
Right.
backdropcms.org. And so if a module doesn't have that line in it, then it won't show up as having available updates.
But
And
will it still be available in backdrop.org?
yes, yep. It
Oh.
just that once it's on the local site, if it didn't have that line, then the local installation of Backdrop wouldn't understand or remember that it originally came from backdropcms.org. And so is there still a recipes module?
It's never been released. So there is one in development, but there isn't yet. And so I'm wondering if we couldn't just assume that we're eventually going to have a recipes module and just start listing recipes as recipes so that they don't show up here. But as long as they still show up as, being available, to
Yeah.
originally download.
Yeah,
So
you
that might
could,
be that might be a temporary solution. Yeah.
yeah, this is what I was getting is that you could use an alter hook to alter the module info file to remove the project equals line from the .info file via an alter hook, and then Backdrop wouldn't know that it was a module that needed updates anymore.
I got it. Okay. I'm sorry, but so and where would that alter code go in the recipe module or in core?
Yeah, I was thinking that would go in the recipe module.
Okay.
But you need to somehow have a way of identifying that it's a recipe as well.
Yep.
Which, yeah, you could do also through the .info file, like encourage recipes to say, recipe equals true or some other made up metadata in the .info file.
Okay, well, that might it sounds like this is not something for 1.29 and might be solvable through contrib for now, at least temporarily. So I'm happy this, you've given me at least a direction this might go in, and that's good enough for today.
Yeah, the thing that could be core potential, because recipes. Yeah, I don't know if we should be ignoring updates for like a collection of modules specifically. I don't know, maybe would you see any use case for recipes that should be updated? Like maybe this isn't a universal capability.
I need to think about that some more. Right now, I think none of the recipes that are available. Well, I won't say that. There is. Well, okay. I don't want to go down this. This could be a bigger discussion. And
Okay.
It's not urgent for today, but I get your point. There may be use cases for updatable recipes, but we don't have them yet, and we'll keep that in mind as we figure this out.
Yeah. So what I was thinking could be a generic core feature that would need separate discussion, but if you wanted to have the ability to pin a module version and be like, don't warn me about updates, this would kind of tie into like dismissible updates or dismissible status messages. But if we wanted to add the ability to update module to be like ignore updates or, lock to a particular version, you'd probably still have a little info line here saying that there's a new version, but it wouldn't flag it as
Right.
like something that needed updating.
Yeah.
And that could be that could be a potentially useful feature for other purposes, but it would also have security concerns potentially, because what would you do with like a security release that came out and a module that was pinned, like, where would the warning, how severe would the warning be?
Okay. Well, I think by 1.3, we might finally be to a stage where, or the next release, we might be at a stage where we're actually defining what recipes are and adding them as a project type. But that's a bigger discussion we don't need to get into today.
Cool. Yeah, not 1.3, 1.30, right?
1.30. Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I also wanted to say, just in some of our infrastructure things, that we made a release to telemetry, project telemetry module. Project module got an update and was deployed out to backdropcms.org. This is something that Martin Yorkshire Pudding was asking for to start collecting telemetry on B. I'm not sure if this actually, okay, it does actually have some usage in here. We were only showing telemetry data for I think 2 hours instead of 2 weeks. That was totally a little mishap here. So all of our counts were way under what they should have been. And so if we look at telemetry for backdropcms.org, or for Backdrop itself, our numbers have increased dramatically. I mean, it's 10 times the numbers that we had before. So we're now collecting a lot more information, which is fantastic. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, look at this. Now have over 1,500 websites that are reporting telemetry information.
Nice.
So yeah, we're collecting a lot more information now, and yeah, it's great. There's also a follow-up issue that we're working on where this MySQL number is incorrect. Where is it? That 5.5.5. Oh, here it is, just 5.5. Not as many as I thought, actually. That this number is not actually MySQL 5.5. It's MariaDB emulating or misrepresenting itself as MySQL 5.5. And we've got a fix already in that should resolve this next time people update their Backdrop websites. That's not as bad as I was expecting, but
Is that because the older MariaDBs used to include their MySQL version in their version string?
Yeah, and it's not necessarily older versions of MariaDB. It seems to actually be newer versions that
Okay.
they intentionally misrepresent their version string so that old MySQL clients can connect to new MariaDB servers. Because the client looks at the version number, and so the server, MySQL server, says that it's 5.5 just to make it so that MySQL won't freak out and think that it's connecting to MySQL 1.0. Because when the versions for MariaDB starting with 10, old MySQL clients stupidly didn't think it was version 10. They thought it was version 1. Yeah. It's a weird problem. Great. So yeah, that little update, and yeah, B itself is now collecting data as well, which is great. So we've got about, that looks like 30 sites being reported into B.
They would have to people would have to update to the latest version of B in order to send data as well.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, and B, because B isn't running continuously like a web server is, it doesn't have a cron job. B has its own intermittent way of sending data. So people need to actually be running B, from the command line or in continuous integration code or something in order for it to report usage. So this number still will probably fluctuate quite a bit if people aren't using B every 2 weeks on their projects. It's going to drop off.
I wanted to ask a quick question about preferred PHP. My understanding is that Backdrop runs fine with PHP 8.1 and 8.2, and they're faster. But I'm not sure if there's a sense about whether or not the contrib modules are in a state that it would be suitable to start off running Backdrop at 8.1 or 8.2. Are there any thoughts on that?
Well, my thought is that if it's at all possible, always running the latest version of PHP is preferable. And sometimes there have been some delays of a couple of weeks or months where the newest version of PHP isn't immediately ready for use, but using the latest version does make it so that you're, in PHP's full security window. So I wouldn't recommend anybody use PHP 5 or 7 at this point. I think everybody should be on PHP 8. And PHP 8 to 8.1 was trivial, so I'd also say 8.1 is also like, you're going to start with the easy 8. 8.1 is a good one to go for. But yeah, as far Backdrop Core is totally 8.3 compatible, but you're absolutely right that there are questions about certain contrib modules potentially needing updating. But I don't have any specific examples of any modules that aren't 8.3 compatible. I'd be curious to know if anybody else has that experience.
Just from my personal experience, I think 8.2 is pretty widely supported in the contrib, but I have heard about a couple people having problems with 8.3 on some of their modules.
On the other hand, it's probably encouraged that people test contrib modules on 8.3 and file issues so that we can get them fixed. So you might not want to go into production on 8.3, but you should try your site, and if you can, on Dev, so that you can help us identify the issues with contrib.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
So we've just got a few minutes. There was another issue that issue 6390, I had posted in the issue queue. This is the add parent menu selector to menu add edit link form. It's marked as a UX issue, so maybe it's not urgent today. One, can we clarify that? But two, this was RTBC. IndigoZilla took it off RTBC, I think out of concern for backward compatibility with contrib. And I just thought maybe, and then nothing sort of happened on it. And I just maybe wanted some clarity on, and I sort of asked like, well, what should we do about that? And she's like, well, test it with Contrib. And that seems so vague to me.
Yeah, I'll share my screen again.
Mhm.
Which apparently might not be working. Are you guys seeing my screen?
No, I'm seeing it. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, let's see.
It's what I'm looking for is this close to like, is this a possibility of some, because it was RTBC very recently, is it close enough that we could still get it in, or is Indigo Zella's concern about backward compatibility a reason that this might take longer, and what should we do next?
Getting my head around this issue.
Oh, it was, okay. I was the one who marked it works for me. I didn't know that.
Looks like I added milestone candidate bug, which is also interesting. And that's probably because I considered it to be a UX issue.
Well, maybe this isn't urgent today then, if it can go into any release.
Well, yeah, it depends. Like if it has some like minor ability to break contrib,
Mhm.
our policy is that the form structures are not considered a public API. And so if you're like form altering this, for example,
Right.
and it breaks, that is considered to be like allowable under our release policy. But there's still like, we want to be judicious about that and only do it in situations where it's not going to break everything, like
Right.
where it will have a real minimal impact. So I don't think that this is outside the window of, something that would be acceptable, even if it broke contrib. But if it does break contrib, because it's a minor change, if it breaks like a module somewhere, we probably would want to still put it into a minor release and not a bug fix release.
Okay. Well, so if I'm a little bit confused if there were other issues that were raised that removed it from RTBC, or if it's just the backward compatibility issue. And if so, is there some testing we could do to determine how serious it is, or can you just make that judgment by looking at it like this doesn't seem to be?
Let's see. I'll give you my opinion on how badly, like how big of a change this is, okay, so it's adding a drop down for parent menu and then an Ajax callback that then updates the form. And then, okay, so this is actually really good that the select list actually is the same. It's still just called parent. So we're not even removing a form element or changing its name. We're just reducing the list of options based on a previous form element. So it's adding a form element, and then reducing down the list of options. My opinion on this is that this is a very safe change.
Okay.
If
we wanted to
look at this removal though, I think it goes all, it might be right here that this might be
okay.
something else.
Who did this PR? Robert. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's not used anywhere else, I don't know. I would be tempted to say let's do remove it, but she's saying that maybe it's used in more than one place.
Okay. Well, that might help unstick this issue. It seemed to me to be a little bit stuck and it seemed like it was pretty close to completion, so.
Okay, let's see. Oh, something we haven't mentioned yet. Okay, so we're all out of time for today. However, it is really important that we clarify the feature freeze because, as usual, this feature freeze in September is landing on Labor Day, which is a holiday here in the United States and I think also in Canada. And that for our policy on like feature freeze means that we usually delay feature freeze until the end of any holiday or break or weekend. And so September 1st, which is normally our feature freeze day, lands on Sunday, but then Monday is Labor Day the 2nd. And so our feature freeze therefore is extended to the end of Labor Day, September 2nd. So we have this weekend, and then we have all of Monday to figure out these last little things for the 129 release.
Okay.
I'll post that into the Zulip as well. I've been meaning to do that.
I'm going to try to make some time this weekend to work on issues. So if people have things they need tested in particular, that's where I can be helpful. Let me know what issues you need me to test or give feedback on for feature freeze. If anybody else wants to work this weekend, I know it's a holiday weekend, so I probably won't be available a lot, but I'll make a few hours.
Yep. I'll also say that I'm allocating specific time this weekend for backdrop, including all day tomorrow. I've taken off for backdrop focus.
Okay.
Saturday I'll be busy, but then Sunday and Monday I'll probably be back at backdrop. So we'll get a lot of last minute attention here. And I hope that that'll help a lot.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here. And I guess maybe before we go, we've got 3 people that joined at the last minute. If you guys have
They're
anything
here
you
for the
wanted to
user
say
group.
or add?
Yes, Saleem and Darren are early for the users group.
Oh, okay. Oh, because we have the users group meeting now. Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll end the recording and we'll see you all next week post feature freeze.